This episode of WW Today is sponsored by StarToursToLive.com.
Who?
It's a new project from Touring Plans and StudioCentral.com.
Who?
StarToursToLive.com will be bringing you complete on-the-ground coverage of the soon-to-open Star Tours, the Adventures Continue attraction, including news and rumors, photos and video, a first tour to Alderaan, and a free wait times app. So if you're interested, go visit StarTours2, that's the number 2, live.com today.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, April 4th, and this is episode, wait for it, 859 of WDW Today. Sitting in for Matt Hochberg is yours truly, Mike Scopa. Matt is somewhere trying to smell what the Rock is cooking. This is Mike Scopa from allears.net, and on the show today we have Mike Newell of Mousewell Radio. And Mike, not only have you taken care of the audio for today's show, but the lighting you have come up with is just so relaxing.
Oh, well, it's that kind of relaxing day, you know. I have the cheese all laid out for you, and the wine is being poured as we speak. So I thought I'd dim the lights a little bit because it's that kind of atmosphere. Because, you know, without certain people, it's nice and relaxed.
Yeah, but I'm kind of worried. I see that Barry White CD next to you. I don't think we're going to need that.
Hey, I'm a big fan of Mr. White's art, so
that's true.
It may come on by the end of the show.
Also on the show today is Henry Work. He's co-host of the Beta Mouse podcast and lead designer of TouringPlans.com. And Henry, I want you to know that I will be making my first trip to Disneyland in September. So I might be hitting you up for some tips. Yeah,
absolutely, sir. I am always eager to have Disney World folk come west and experience the joy that is Disneyland.
So I'm making my list, checking it twice right now.
Nice.
So for today's show, a few episodes back, we decided to try something different. And what we decided to do is, without doing any show prep, we would open the show and one of us would come up with a theory or an idea for a small tweak to Walt Disney World. And after delivering that idea, everyone else would give their gut reaction. Is it good? Is it bad? How do we feel about it? So tonight, we're going to allow our guest host, Henry Work, to come up with one for today's show, and Mike Newell and I will give our reaction to it. So I'm going to turn it over to Henry, and Henry, give us your tweak.
Okay, so this is actually inspired from something I heard you, Mike Scopa, say on a previous episode, but I wanted to sort of kick it around a little bit more. So the tweak is, what if one of the parks or all 4 of the parks were open the entire day, open 24 hours continuously,
wow,
and they never closed? How would that affect touring? How would that affect your experience at Disney? And how the heck would Disney actually pull it off?
Wow. Henry, are you talking about just one day or all the time?
Like, the Magic Kingdom was always open. Didn't matter when you got there. If you'd gotten at a late flight from MCO, hop on over. You want to see Haunted Mansion, you could do it.
Wow.
So you're talking 24/7.
24/7 operation.
Okay.
Probably a little bit bigger than a small tweak, but still interesting.
Okay, a couple of things. As much as I would probably be there to all hours of the morning, the problem would be trying to sleep late the next day because unless you're in a really good, if you're in a deluxe hotel, you will. Unless you're in a deluxe hotel, you're probably going to hear a lot of movement in the morning, so it would be very difficult to roll in around 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. after spending all night at the theme park and trying to sleep until, I don't know, 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But having said that, I think that what I would do is I would take that 24-hour period, and I would probably try to visit 3 parks a day. I think I would separate the day into probably, I don't know, maybe 5 to 6 hours in each park, and try to adjust that from day to day. So, for instance, on day 1, I would probably go to the Magic Kingdom early on and spend the first 6 hours of my day at that park. And then I would think about, okay, which park would I go to next, which would not be that crowded for the next 6 hours, which would probably be from maybe 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock at night. So let's say I go to, from Magic Kingdom, I go to the studios. And then at around 8 or 9 o'clock, it's time for me to go to Epcot, because I want to go see Illuminations. And, if I want to have a late night snack, I can't think of a better place than Epcot, because they've got, I'm assuming that this also means that most of the restaurants in the park will be open. Maybe not all of them, but most of them will be open. So that's how I would do it. I don't know if I would do it every day, but I think that I would try to squeeze in as much park touring as I could. One thing, Henry, that I think would be interesting with this, and here's a question I have for you. On the previous show, when we first started talking about something like tweaking, we talked about the FastPass distribution. How would this impact the FastPass distribution system?
That's a great question. Maybe they would have to have like a cutoff every morning. Like FastPasses started at 6 a.m. and then they expired at 6 a.m. Or I don't know. Maybe you had to have a 24-hour period which you could redeem your FastPasses once you got them, right? Because if it just like started one day and then it went, FastPasses would be distributed for like a week from now. You know what I mean? Like eventually. So that would really make much sense. So yeah, I guess they would have to have some kind of like 24-hour kind of cutoff for it.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, how would you adjust your touring habits?
See,
Like this happen.
like I mentioned in a past episode, probably the one on this past Fridays, I normally, since I'm normally a morning person to begin with, I tend not to be a morning person on vacation. But that said, I am also a night owl. So I have no problem hanging out at one of the parks and then coming home and sleeping for 6 hours and then going back out in the middle of the night. Like I would so go to the Magic Kingdom at 2 o'clock in the morning and and stay there until 8 when all the normal people would come to the park. I have no problem doing that. And I think at that time of day, you wouldn't even really need FastPass. I don't think FastPass would be such a priority at that time at 4 in the morning. I don't see it being that big a deal, but it would be so cool. I would love to try that.
Well, one thing for sure, I would say between the hours of 11, or from 11 o'clock on till opening, till rope drop, if you will, the next day, one thing for sure is that you won't have the young families in the park. You'll have that group of guests away from the park. So if you could put a number or percentage on, so you've got this universe of guests that come to, let's say, the Magic Kingdom. And my guess is the Magic Kingdom has more young families visiting that park than any other theme park. And I'm going to say that it's probably as close to 30% of the guests are 30% of them are young families. And so that means that, like what Mike said, so 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to have those young families. You might have a few teenagers, maybe. I'm not sure. It depends upon how the family feels about having teenagers out. But you're going to have young adults, and you might have middle-aged people, whatever, in the park. But I think you're right, Mike. I think that you won't need fast passes at 2 o'clock in the morning. What would this do, Henry? I'm going to turn this around to you. What would this do to your eating habits down there?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I kind of eat like a college kid anyway, so maybe that would continue on vacation. Late night snacks and stuff like that.
Well, that's just it, Mike. I Henry, before I lose this thought, I don't see them opening up the full service restaurants at 2 in the morning, but snacks or some sort of light to moderate counter service.
Quick service? Do you think all the quick service ones are?
I don't know about all.
I guess it would depend upon the park. Like you might have one quick service.
Right.
Well, I guess you do have one quick service in each of the lands. Like you might have Pecos Bills open. You might have the Starlight Cafe open. Maybe just those two.
Yeah, like a moderate menu, something smaller than they would normally have. Like I can't see them having too many things open, in the middle of the night, but at least something.
Yeah, I when I thought about this, I sort of remembered there's a day in our database where the park hours in the Magic Kingdom. It was one day like in 2007 or 2008, and it was between Christmas and New Year's, and the park was open. The official Magic Kingdom park hours were open till 2 a.m. But then it was extra evening magic hours, so the park was actually open till 5.
Right,
and then the park opened at 7 a.m. And I was thinking, I saw this in our database, unless it's some kind of bug.
No, that was true. I remember Len talking about that.
Yeah, why didn't they just keep it open? You know what I mean? Like I know the other thing I also think about when I see this. Oh well, let me go back to the Extra Magic Hour. During evening Extra Magic Hour in the Magic Kingdom, they definitely reduced the number of counter service options, right? So like Pecos Bills might be open and maybe one other, but that's about it. And so my guess is that sort of it would go into like a late night mode, and you'd even see, most of the shows wouldn't happen. Obviously, the attractions would be limited, kind of like Extra Magic Hours. I almost imagine like it's just the park goes into Extra Magic Hour mode, right, between park closing and park opening. So limited, no shows, limited attractions, very few character meet and greets, limited food, but still, some of the best e-ticket attractions,
right.
In the world. So I think that's kind of interesting.
So a couple things. We're thinking that if this were to happen, there would be no let me back up. Are you saying also this would be for the Animal Kingdom? I think that would be the park that probably wouldn't happen.
Yeah, my guess is that it wouldn't happen. I mean, theoretically, like I could see it happening once or twice in the Magic Kingdom. There's obvious operation issues. Particularly, I hear that Magic Kingdom, like Main Street, turns into this giant thoroughfare for trucks and stuff like that after the park closes because they do a lot of maintenance overnight. And so I think that alone, the maintenance would cause this 24-hour mode not to be realistic. But yeah, my guess is that if they could pull it off, if they can only pull it off at the Magic Kingdom or Epcot.
Yeah, there may be some OSHA regulations that need to be handled, like walking the tracks of the roller coasters and checking friction points for for Splash Mountain. There may be some things that they need to check every day before they open. I know that it takes approximately 90 minutes for a Splash Mountain to be operative because they need to start the flume, they need to make sure all the logs run well, then they have to start testing the logs with cast members. So it does there are some startup issues that might be there. So I think that if they did any kind of a 24/7 mode, I think that would also mean that there would be some attractions that would have to be stopped or paused for about maybe a 2-hour period while they do things like checking, and then they could get them running again. But getting back to the Animal Kingdom, I think that would probably be the park that we wouldn't see it, but we would see it in the other parks. Trying to think what else would be how it would affect me.
Well, one thing that I thought of was sort of faster, better access. Disney's on this, Tom Staggs, the chairman of Disney's Parks and Resorts division, is always talking about how they want the next generation of Disney park touring stuff is going to be related to faster and better access to the fun. So one thing that if you do wake up early enough to do rope drop, I would love if I wanted to get to the park an hour early because I wanted to catch a flight, that day or whatever, that I had the option to do that. So if I show up at 6, or 7, and the park doesn't open till 9, typically, that seems like kind of a win. And also, particularly, during off-peak times when they close the parks early, obviously they do that for, operational cost issues. But, if I can hang out at Epcot after Illuminations and stroll my way out the park and not be shuffled out, that's kind of nice.
Hey, I got a question for Mike Newell, because Mike and I are similar in that we both like to take the first flight out of Orlando when we're coming home. So, Mike, if this was the case, and let's say you had let's say you had a 7 o'clock or an 8 a.m. flight out of MCO, would you spend the night before in one of the parks and then maybe at around 5 o'clock, whatever, take off for the airport?
I mean, it's totally feasible. The only problem is you would have to do one of two things with your room. You'd have to either check out that day and then spend the day somewhere else, with your luggage and everything else, or check out at 4 a.m., and pay for the full night that you're not going to use. To me, that wouldn't matter, but I would imagine to some people it would. But I would sure, if I had a 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. flight, I would so go to the Magic Kingdom 1 a.m. and spend the night there and then head over to the airport, and then I could sleep on the plane home.
Yeah, that would be helpful if people who could sleep on planes. If you can't sleep on planes, that may not work for some people, but you also have to be able to stay awake on the 20-minute drive to the airport.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, that would be something that it would be interesting to do. I'm trying to think of another kind of an impact this would have. We talked about restaurants. We talked about Henry. Do you think that this would be one of those deals where we would not have any meet and greet opportunities, or we would have, like a spotty ones over the course of the wee hours of the morning?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like you could shift to some more like adult interactions, like the like a Haunted Mansion kind of meet and greet, or sort of spooky stuff that they could do. I don't know. You could do some kind of like sunrise in the parks with Mickey kind of opportunities. I mean, my guess it would be heavily attended. But yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think in Epcot in evening extra magic hours that the character spot is still open, which is the place inside of Innoventions next to the Coke World. So maybe that would be still open. I'm not sure what else would be.
Let's see. So
dance parties, maybe, like there's sometimes dance parties for like extra magic hours and stuff.
Yeah, Tomorrowland over there.
So I'm going to start with. I have a question for both of you. I'm going to start with Mike. If this was the case, give me the order in which you would visit. Give me the order of the parks that you would most like to see do this, and tell me why.
Epcot number one, and just because Epcot at night is probably to me anyway, the most magical place. Walking around World Showcase after Illumination is one of the best things you could ever do. And to have things open and actually running after that would be spectacular. I mean, we've done it, with extra magic hour ease in the evening, but I mean, to stay, that would be just golden. So I would love that first. Magic Kingdom would be my second choice, followed by the studios. Like you said, I don't think the Animal Kingdom's going to have a chance of that ever.
Henry?
I gotta say Magic Kingdom. I mean, if it's feasible, like Magic Kingdom would be the place to do it. They already have, it's the number one theme park in the world. It's this, the ultimate in sort of operations efficiency, and they've proven that they already have the longest park hours out of any stateside Disney park. And so I would just love to see, like maybe even as like an annual pass perk a few times or something like that, if they could do it operationally in terms of, attraction maintenance and, repackaging the hot dogs on Main Street. If they can pull it off, I just think people would go crazy for it, and they could promote the heck out of it.
Second place?
Second place. Sorry. Second place, probably Epcot. I agree with Newell. I'm a sucker for World Showcase at night. Then yeah, I don't think I'll ever come to Animal Kingdom. But Hollywood Studios would be really cool. I mean, hey, if you want to see Toy Story Mania, the most popular attraction in Walt Disney World, later you stay or the earlier you get, the better option you can get to see it.
Henry brings up a good point. Any of those parks that have high velocity, wait times or the fast pass lines. I mean, that would be ideal. So for the studios, it would be ideal just to ride Toy Story Mania at 4 a.m. You're probably going to get a lot less wait than you would at 4 in the afternoon. The same go with Epcot riding Soarin' and Test Track.
Yeah, I think that the headliner attractions would really be the big deal for something like this, and maybe in a month, Toy Story Mania may be the second most popular attraction in Walt Disney World. For me, I got to agree with Mike. I think Epcot would be it. I've been in Epcot at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning last October when I did the Wine and Dine. It was really packed, and I'd like to walk around World Showcase at night on a nice warm nice warm summer evening. I think that would be kind of cool. I would like to. See the sun come up. I've also had the opportunity to be in Epcot around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning in World Showcase. And it's pretty cool to be there when no one's around and you get to see the sun come up. So I think it would be really cool to see the sun come up in Epcot. My second choice would be the Magic Kingdom, because I'd like to, again, see how calm everything would be during the wee hours, when it's really quiet. What kind of music would we be hearing? If you notice that when you go through the parks, that the mood music changes as the day goes on. So it would be interesting to see what selection of mood music they would have. Studios would be third, just because it doesn't have the magical allure that Epcot and Magic Kingdom has for me. So I have one last question for the two of you before we close out this show, and I'm going to start with Henry first. So let us say that you are planning to go to Walt Disney World for 7 days, the first week in August. And this first week in August, we hear that the Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Studios, they're all going to be open 24/7. So what I want you to tell me is, knowing that, and you can stay at any Walt Disney resort that you could, Walt Disney World resort you could, which one do you think you would prefer to stay in that would help you get the most out of this 24/7 mode?
Pop Century, obviously. No, just any resort. I mean, it'd be nice to be on the monorail line, right? I mean, if you can have access to Epcot and Magic Kingdom, I think that would be pretty cool. Otherwise, I might say something like Beach Club or Boardwalk. Let's just do that. I'll say Boardwalk. I like the Boardwalk, and I love the easy access to Epcot, and the fact that you could watch Illuminations, which would probably only happen once, even if it was in 24/7 mode. But you could, stroll around World Showcase. You could go through Future World, and then when you've seen Captain EO for the 7th time at night, you could just stroll back to your park and soak up at the atmosphere. So let's say Boardwalk.
Mike?
Henry has the exact same idea that I was having, but I'm across the pond there, the Beach Club. And for the exact same reasons Henry said. I mean, if I'm out at 5 in the morning and I'm done, I could stroll right back over to the Beach Club and sleep for 4 hours and get back out, for 11 o'clock. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got to go with Beach Club too, because let's say I'm at the Magic Kingdom, so I take the monorail to the TTC, and I take it to Epcot, and I can go into Epcot, and I can walk right to my resort. If I'm at the studios, I can walk back, and again, if I'm there, if I get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, I can just stroll over to Epcot. So I agree. I think that Beach Club sort of gets the nod here. I guess any of the Epcot resorts, Yacht Club, Beach Club, Swan, Dolphin, Boardwalk. Yep. I guess they all kind of would be candidates for that. So that's a good choice, Henry. I think this was a very good topic, and I thank you for bringing up this discussion.
No problem. And it was your inspiration, Scopa. So you could do a little back pat right there.
Okay, well, that's it for the show today, folks. I want to again mention that this episode of WW Today has been sponsored by StarTours2Live.com, and that's a new project that has been put together by Touring Plans and StudioCentral.com. And it's going to bring you complete on-the-ground coverage of that new Star Tours attraction. It's going to be called the Adventures Continue attraction. This project will include news. We're going to be having rumors coming from there. There are going to be photos and also a video of the first tour to Alderaan. Not to mention free wait times app that's coming. So go visit StarTours2Live.com today. And again, that's StarTours2Live.com. Now, you can always listen to any of the other 858 former episodes. You can check out our show notes. You can send us email by visiting us at wwtoday.com. So for Matt WrestleMania Hochberg, Mike Newell, Len Testa, the fabulous Annette Owens, and our special guest tonight, Henry Work from touringplans.com and the Beta Mouse podcast, this is Mike Scopa saying we'll be talking to you real soon.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.